Hello, my good friends, Roger at Mudfossil University. Today, going over a very, very, very highly esteemed writer in history, Ovid. Ovid, I call him Ovid. Metamorphosis. What does that mean? It means transformation. Well, what does that mean? It means that all of the things that the gods said long ago, they could transform molecules. And there's no question whatsoever what I am saying is factual, and I have the evidence to prove what I am saying. If you can prove what I am saying is wrong, you prove it, because I can prove what I'm saying is right. Ovid wrote a bunch of books about how the gods played with humanity and all kinds of stuff they did. And he went right back to the beginning, to the creation of humans and the world and everything. The ages of mankind, Deucalion, all of them, right down the whole line. You get down to like book 4 here, and this is an epic. These are like, I mean, just Cadmus, you just can't believe that. Perseus, oh my God. The things you could read in here would just blow your mind. And like Cadmus, I can't remember exactly the story around it, but it boiled down to a dragon was killed, and they took half of the teeth from the dragon, planted them, and they grew into fully armored warriors. And then, oh, I remember now, it was in Thebes. It was in Thebes, and they grew all of these warriors, and then Cadmus, I believe it was, threw a jewel or something into the center of all these guys, and they killed each one of them killed each other until they ended up with 5 guys. And he took those 5 guys, and then they conquered Thebes, or they started Thebes. It's a long time ago. Anyway, read this; it's absolutely amazing. And he was very serious. Now, they called him a jerk and a fool, and they said, oh, he was just teasing and everything. They made a big joke out of it, really. Well, he didn't think it was a joke, and here's how he ended up everything. He said this. Somewhere it says it down here. Hold on, let me find it. Hold on, I'll find it. Like I said, they made a big joke out of him, and they actually had him exiled. I'm not sure why he was exiled, but he did end up getting exiled. But he did say this: now stands my task accomplished, such a work as not the wrath of Jove, nor the fire, nor sword, nor the devouring ages can destroy. He's talking about truth. They regarded it as, oh, he's just nonsense, he's a moron, he's doing all this silly stuff. Well, that's what they're doing to me too, so, he's found the truth. He brought out the truth. He says, here's what they said, here's what it was like. Now, I don't know if back then they didn't have the kind of resources to prove these things. I can prove these things now. So now it's proved. Ovid, I love you, brother. All right, they have no idea what they're looking at here. This is the Il Gigante, and here it is. And they're talking about it being bombed and so forth, and still retaining, Allied bombs, rough seas reduced this once mighty turn-of-the-century giant into an armless ruin. Well, they call it a turn-of-the-century giant. Some guy says he created it in 1905 or 1915, somewhere in the early 1900s. And that's just not true. Well, maybe he did, but somehow he petrified that guy. And I'm going to show you that for a fact right now. All right, here's close up and personal of Il Gigante, and this is no question whatsoever. That is the tissue that wraps around. Now, they didn't put these bones and this tendon and this blood and all of that stuff and then wrap it around with some kind of tissue. Now, whether that is the actual tissue or not, whether it's been coated with something, I don't know. But I can tell you 100% factual. This is tendon. This is blood. This is blood over here. His arms up here. This is the pattern of the muscles and so forth in the arm. There's the center of the arm. I mean, this is not hard to understand. They tried to fix his face with some metal slugs they put in there to hold it together. But it is weathering away and falling apart. And let's take a look at what a regular leg looks like. You don't have to be an anatomist to understand what you're looking at. There's the tendinous material that's very strong and strappy, and that's what gives you a lot of strength and spring in your step. And that's what it was. And then there's all the red, bloody, fleshy stuff that's eroded away. Here's another one, 16th century Florence. 16th century Colossus, sculptured in Florence. It wasn't sculptured in Florence unless they did it in the 1600s, 16th century, 1500s, and that is an absolutely living creature at one time, and it is strangling something that looks like a little dragon or something. Now, we're going to look at some pictures of this. This is not something that can be disputed, and you could go take DNA from these things. That's a fact. You can get DNA out of that. They know this now. So don't tell me that I'm wrong without doing any of that work. Because I'm telling you right now, this is virtually certain. If you don't look at it, that's just ignore it. That's all. All right, I understand colors. I understand textures. I understand tendons. And that's tendon running up from his shoulder. And that is the muscle, same looking muscle that was running around that guy's leg. Now, whether they somehow petrified the flesh and the inside stuff, I guess got sort of petrified too. But you could see underneath here. This is kaolin clays. This is, they patched it here and there. And then the guy excavated inside of this guy's body and made little rooms in there to make it look like he did something. Then he put a dragon's nest on his back. And that's what they call doing the job. Now, this right here is falling apart. This guy's arm is falling apart. And that's tendinous material. And that's just strangling some kind of a little dragon-looking thing. And all of this blood stuff that's running out of here, that's very, very biological, can be tested. All right, here's from the back, looking at the Colossus. And this is the flesh that coats the outside of everything. They somehow had a way to stabilize that. And it must have been instantaneously. And that's what Ovid said. They could just go click and it was done. Well, let me show you what. Medusa had the keys to this whole thing. Now, there was a head, the Medusa head, after it was severed, it still did the job. Now, at some point, they were able to make these giants, and there was giants everywhere, and they could stabilize them in midstream. All right, here we go. Here's Perseus right here. See Perseus? Book 4 and Book 5, Perseus fighting the palace of Ceasars. Let's go look into that. Now, let's just look at what Perseus is about first. Well, Perseus was, in Greek mythology, he was a legendary founder of Mycenae and the Perseid dynasty. He was alongside Cadmus and Bellerophon, the greatest Greek hero and slayer of monsters before the days of Heracles. He beheaded the Gorgon Medusa, and then he went around with that head and he did some work. Hold on, here we go. Okay, this is Book 5, and it's fabulous. But let's just go down to where it's quick and easy. 200 to 249. Phineas is turned to stone. They all deserved the punishment they suffered, except one of Perseus' warriors. While he was fighting on his side, Aconteus saw the Gorgon's head, which is the petrifier, and took the shape of hardened stone. Boom, instantly. Astyages struck him with his long sword right in the middle of the battle, thinking he was still alive, and a blade gave him a high-pitched ringing noise. While Astyages stood there amazed, the same power transformed him. He saw the Gorgon's head, and he remained there with a wondering look on his marble face. It would take a long time to tell the names of the middle ranks of men. 200 bodies survived the fight, and 200 bodies were turned to stone at the sight of the Gorgon's head. And then he says, now at last Phineas regrets the unjust fight, and so forth. But the Medusa head, the only way that I can justify this, and the only way that I can have this make any sense whatsoever, because I understand the chemistry, I understand the biology, I understand the anatomy, I understand the different molecules and the atoms and how they bond, and I understand the nucleophilic reaction, how it comes in and transforms things and replaces things and stabilizes bodily tissues, and how that all happens. And the pHs, I know that whole stuff inside and out. However, there is nothing, absolutely no way whatsoever, that molecules can stabilized like that. It's just impossible in the realm I live in. These were gods. They could do that. Some of these gods had the ability to talk to molecules. Absolutely no question. They came down, they would shapeshift. They could create, they could make things just happen by directing the molecules to do what they want them to do, somehow with thought or something. I mean, I believe it was Athena popped right out of Zeus's forehead with all her armament. Just popped out of his forehead. How does that happen? That's not your normal birth. All right, this is, I mean, it's just bizarre. It's crazy as hell, absolutely, but Greek goddess of wisdom and war. Athena, apparently he ate Athena, put her in his belly or something, and she is known most specifically for her strategic skill in warfare and is often portrayed as the companion of heroes and as the patron goddess of heroic endeavors. Good things. Athena was born from Zeus after he experienced an enormous headache. And she sprang fully grown and in armor from his forehead. I mean, you know, that doesn't happen a lot. These kind of things are so over the top that they've been relegated to just hysterical laughter. I mean, I laugh when I can't help myself. But it's, you know, I mean, if you stop and think about it, and you see what's really, really there, and I do, I do, and I see a lot of stuff, and it's, I got to tell you, it's scary, and I'm getting kind of scared of what it all means, because I'm telling you, it all means something, and we have been so lost in video games and all that nonsense that we just have not paid attention to this and laughed at all the people that have, and that's changing right away. It's changing, and you better start paying attention. I don't know what the end's going to be. I have no clue whatsoever, but I am watching, and I got an eye on who I'm going to be looking for when I draw my last breath. I can tell you that, because you're all going to do it one way or the other. Nobody gets out alive. That's what I used to say, but now I think it might happen. Now there's something else. I can see there. I had never thought there was anything else. One of these days I'll tell you about my whole life and how I felt about things, but I'll tell you right now, I never thought of anything other than you had to prove something to me. That's the way I lived my life. You don't prove it to me, I'm not going to buy it. You can tell me all day long to keep talking, but if you have no evidence to prove what you're saying has no relevance. Well, now all of this relevance is slapping people in their faces, and all they can do is hide, go into the woods, and that's what's happened. And that is not going to work for you, because that last breath is going to happen. And at that point you say, I should have been out of that woods, I should have been looking, I should have been thinking. I don't know what you're going to catch at the end of this, but if you don't start thinking, I know what you're going to catch. And they say, you're going to catch hell. I don't know. I really don't know anymore, my friends. I am just speaking loud. And if you don't think, you don't care, yeah, that's the way it works for you. So anyway, God bless you all, and I really honestly now believe in God, and I believe in Jesus and all that stuff. I think that is all very factually shown to have been real. And that's what I needed. Now, I know that isn't what God wants. He wants you to believe because you believe in God more than you believe in anything else. And now I do. But there was a time I didn't. So don't think if you don't that it's all lost, because I'm hoping it's not lost, because that's the way I was. And I did a lot of things that I'm not proud of. And I'm real not proud of some of them. But I guess we all do things that we're not proud of. And I guess that's what God is supposed to forgive you for, and Jesus and so forth. But if you have to come in a very strong way is what I'm taking. So I don't want to preach to you, but that's the way I'm seeing things now. And one of these days I'm going to just do a ramble about it, because it's getting deep into my mind now. You can't get to where I am and not carry something with you that you're going to have to open up and look into. And I've been doing that, and that's not the easiest thing I've ever done. Anyway, it's interesting. All right, love you all. All right, have a nice New Year. Thanks. Bye.